Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. This is episode 197, recording on October 6th. You're watching it on the 7th or later. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman. We've got news, we've got new game companies, we've got new games, and we've got reviews. Lots of stuff to talk about today. But first, let's get to the hosts. You know them, you love them. Free-to-Play Weekly, Mr. Suave, Zach Sharps. What's up, sir?
Nothing much. Hopefully everyone in Florida and South Carolina is staying safe because of the hurricane and all.
Yes. Our thoughts go out to anybody affected by Hurricane Matthew and it making landfall in Florida on the East Coast today and over the next week. Of course, raining havoc everywhere else it goes. So, and obviously the islands it's already hit. Also on the line, Ms. Quinlan Bowers, Q. Well, it's a brown wall today, and a blue wall, and no more white wall, but we got a white door. What the hell's going on over there?
So when we moved into this place, we were actually in a completely different town, and we found the place on Craigslist. And I called the lady, and it turned out she's the apartment manager for both this place and a place in Craig. So we went and applied, and didn't actually see where we were moving to till we moved here, and it turned out we were on the third floor, which access via stairs from outside, which are metal stairs, which will really suck once it starts snowing. So the maintenance guy was like, well, there's this other one here, and the people painted it and did all this crazy stuff to it, so you might be able to, talk her into letting you move into it. And we came and looked, and we actually liked the colors. We have brown and blue in here, and then my office is actually pink and purple when I get into it.
So we can expect yet a third color change within the coming weeks.
But it put us on the first floor, and we got an extra room, and we're only paying $100 more a month. So.
And all YouTube cares about is the internet. And you look great, you sound great, you're not a robot. That's all YouTube's going to care about. They don't care that it's a brown wall. So, awesome.
Somebody might hate the brown wall.
Hey, you know what?
True.
Tough nuggets. Tough nuggets. All right, let's get started with the news. All right, so first up, kind of the big news today, this week, and, let's talk about it now because depending on how things flow for some of these games, we might not be talking about some of these games in the future. So let's get our thoughts recorded now. Amazon Game Studios launched its very Twitch campaign at TwitchCon about its new games, and they are right now looking at 3 new games coming from this studio. The biggest one that we'll talk about here, there's 2 that I think are kind of biggest for us. Breakaway, which is kind of like a sports brawler type game. Lots of people that you probably know on that project. Killer Instinct developer, Double Helix, combination of MOBAs, Team Arena shooters, Rocket League, that type of gameplay, so kind of lends itself to free-to-play. We'll talk about that in a minute. We've got Crucible, a 13-player, third-person team shooter. The 13th player isn't on the battlefield, though, so we'll get to that. And then finally, an MMORPG in New World, which takes place in 17th century America. Not historically accurate, and they're billing it as an MMO sandbox game, something like Rust, where you make your own destiny, your own path. So, before we get into speculation on models and which suits which, I want to talk to each of you about the trailers we saw, the little reveals, how they're making a very strong push for these games to be Twitch streaming based, so that it's very easy, and they are games that apply themselves well to streaming. And then, of course, we'll get to models. But let's talk concept first. What did you guys think, Zach?
I thought that they all looked pretty decent. The only ones I'm really kind of looking forward to the most is Breakaway and also the New World, I think it's called, the Sandbox MMO.
Yes.
And the only reason why I'm looking forward to that is because of the Sandbox MMO, and I love sandboxes. But Breakaway, I don't know, like, the game, it looks like it could be interesting, but when I saw a guy, it was like a Spartan dude, build like a ramp and like sort of shoot over to the right and whatnot, it kind of threw me off a bit. It kind of looks a little too fast-paced, a little janky, but that just might be because it's early in development. They might iron a lot of that out. But yeah, I think they're all interesting.
Q, your initial impressions?
So, I mean, as far as like the themes of each of the games go, other than I guess maybe throwing in that 13th player DM thing, which hilariously on Den of Geek, they were like, this person's supposed to be the dungeon master, but their primary job seems to be to screw with the other players. Isn't that the definition of a dungeon master?
Right.
I'm just saying. But I mean, it's kind of stuff that we for the most part have seen before. I'm more interested in what they're wanting to do with the Twitch related stuff and the gambling that they're that might be, or like all the different stuff that might be added to it. Like, that's a little more interesting just on their business models than the actual games themselves right now.
Yeah, and obviously it's not hard to see why Amazon would be pushing this type of Twitch functionality. Like in Crucible, you mentioned the 13th player. They're kind of like an overseer, and during the match they can trigger various events and things like that mid-match,
Right.
and interact with Twitch viewers at the same time. They also make... Go ahead.
It's a very Twitch plays thing implemented. It's just, basically official Twitch plays.
Yep, and Breakaway and New World, they tout Twitch integration in the form of viewer interaction capabilities, broadcast or organized events, and it's really easy to see why they want to do this, Zach. You would want to do this too if you spent $970 million to acquire this company, right?
Of course. I mean, that's also why they integrated Amazon Prime with Twitch and did Twitch Prime, is to integrate all the business more so together and sort of utilize that to, I guess, give a better value perspective on the value proposition on the overall Amazon Prime subscription, which it already had a lot of value to begin with, and now it adds a whole lot more. So I was looking for them to make moves like this originally when they bought Twitch, and now they seem to be just going all in with it. It just seemed like they were sort of working out some plans, and now they're just executing upon them. So I'm really glad to see them doing that.
I think Breakaway right now is the one that has the most buzz, the most talk about it, and I think that really only has to do with the fact that that's really the one we saw the most of in all of these reveals. Played like a MOBA, similar to MOBA and sports brawler type games where you have a primary attack and a couple different abilities. They kind of mixed in that idea of buildables where you could build a structure or that have offensive, defensive, or buff capabilities. And I think out of the three, that one pretty much lends itself to being, the free-to-play offering here. Now, I say that, and this week has been very, very odd on is Breakaway going to be free-to-play? Because at one point, our own Zach Sharp saw Facebook ads touting Breakaway as free-to-play, which kind of made sense to us. I went on Amazon, and part of the sponsored links, number one was an advertisement for Breakaway. While looking at the product Breakaway on Amazon, the number one sponsored link was Breakaway, the website, and it listed it as a free mythological sports brawler. Now we've been unable to locate some of those things, and even reaching out to Amazon has provided conflicting messages. I'm not going to give their responses at this point because they aren't exact quotes that are privy for public, but I will just say that they were conflicting. I think that's fair to say, Q, right?
Yeah, from the conversation in chat, that was pretty much the most accurate thing you could say.
Right, so I think it's got to be free to play. You don't purchase Facebook ads, Zach, and have them accidentally maybe running if you're not looking at free to play here for Breakaway.
Yeah, it was really strange because I was sitting before classes looking on Facebook, and I saw the ad, and I was sleep deprived at the time. I was half asleep, sort of waking myself up before class, and I was like, okay, well, maybe for some reason I just read free to play and whatever. So I came home and I tried to replicate getting the ad again on Facebook, and I couldn't do it until the following day. And then as soon as I got it, I immediately pasted it into chat because I'm like, okay, this obviously confirms either it's free to play or they're very, very much leaning towards the free to play model. Because why would you spend money on something when you're not completely sure what it's going to be? Because, I mean, you would just be misleading your customers. And so I think it's going to be free to play. Like 95% sure it's going to be free to play, and it's just weird that they haven't sort of pulled it out officially that it's going to be, besides random coincidences of seeing it free to play on Amazon and then disappearing, or being a free to play on an ad and then you're not seeing the ad. Right. It's really bizarre.
Somebody had their finger on the button and fell asleep and released everything, and they had to. I don't know. I get the impression this is going to be free to play.
Although it is fair. it is fair to say that it's not uncommon for developers to basically, kind of say one thing and then it totally be something else.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are arguing that. You don't spend the money on Facebook advertising if you're not sure of model yet at that point. That's where it kind of jumps the shark for me. I'm used to developers saying, we're considering everything, or one guy saying free and PR saying, well, we're not quite there yet, or whatever the case may be on any given game. The fact that there were sponsored ads on Amazon and ads on Facebook that seem to have disappeared or been hard to locate at this point, I think that's where it's going to be free. And I think the game just lends itself to it. It's a free-to-play game.
The game lends itself to being free to play Overwatch.
That's true.
That's true. That's true.
That's why Paladin succeeded so much. But I mean, it really just comes down to the fact that I think that their marketing team already was planning for it to be free to play, and they thought that they got an okay to spawn the ads, but it wasn't really an okay, and so now they're just sort of trying to, make sure that that's exactly what they want to do before they fully go on and say it's going to be free to play to every outlet that's out there. So.
Yeah, if I had to personally guess, Breakaway, and again, just personal, Breakaway is free to play, Crucible and New World are not. I think those are going to be box purchases.
I don't know. I think Crucible probably will be as well. I think that New World will be box purchase, though.
You think Crucible will be a free to play?
Yeah.
The only reason I don't go with you on that is because unlike Breakaway, where there is a building heroes, adding new heroes over time, monetization built in, Crucible isn't that. It's a third-person shooter, so we would look, if it went free-to-play, you'd be looking at models, I would assume, unless Amazon totally breaks from the mold here, you would be looking at the typical weapon-type cash shops and cosmetic upgrades and things like that in other shooters like Ghost in the Shell, stuff like that.
I don't know. It would just have to either be free to play or really cheap, like $20 range. If they try to sell for $60, it's going to fail as bad as Battleborn did. So, yeah, I just don't see them pricing it really high if it is not free to play.
I definitely agree with you there. I think it's a $20 or $25 price tag, but I think there is going to be a price tag. Go ahead, Q.
What about this gambling thing that they're talking about, though? Like, part of their monetization could actually be, weighed on that, like using that to monetize the games in some way.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's been so much, particularly here in the United States, there's been so much controversy over what is considered online gambling and what isn't, and legalities of it that... Oh.
I know, but it is something that they're apparently looking at, so that might be something that they're weighing in on their ability to monetize these games.
We subsidize our games with your bad habits.
Subsidize your game with child gambling. All right.
Well, and that's the problem that I think comes in with that is,
That's
but
true.
although, is it any different than a lockbox, really?
Well, I don't like either, being in a
I'm not
game.
fond of boxes.
Yeah, I mean, if they make New World have that type of crap in it, I probably won't spend a dime on it. That's just the whole philosophy behind myself and cash shops is if it's very RNG gambling, I don't spend a lot of money in it because I like to know what I'm getting for my money, not gamble away my money to try and get an item that I want. So I mean, I can see that being Crucible and Breakaway strategy though. It definitely lends it to that more.
I'm the most excited, I think, about New World. The other two are just mildly interesting, and I'll watch them just to see how Amazon performs in the Twitch integration. But personally, gamer-wise, New World is the one that interests me. Sandbox, working together and against people, and very find-your-own life.
Did you just say working together in a sandbox? Because that's not been my experience in most sandboxes.
Hey, they advertise it as there's times you're going to have to work together. There's times you're not going to work together at all. So, but we'll see. The aesthetics of it also appeal to me, the time era and things and the supernatural stuff that they're putting in there. So I'm very interested by New World. Out of the 3Q, which is the most interesting to you?
That's hard. The other one, the Breakaway and Crucible, I would probably, enjoy from an esports type viewing perspective or something, but I guess playing possibly New World.
Q, can you pull your camera down? I think it kind of rode up, and now I see nothing but brown wall. There we go. Go ahead, Zach. Which of the three?
I kind of agree with Q as far as like the viewing experience wise. Crucible and Breakaway are going to be more something that I would want to view, where New World's something that I would really love to play. It just one of those things where it reminded me so much of Secret World, and I can't wait to see more about it because I want to see sort of what direction they're going with the combat, the gameplay, and just sort of what else they're going to add to the equation that we haven't already seen before.
All right, moving on. We mentioned lockboxes, and apparently Magic the Gathering's creator, Mr. Richard Garfield, is not too keen on not just the lockboxes stuff, but also went and had a lot to say on free-to-play cash shops in general, kind of espousing that most of them are abusive and he doesn't despise them, that they're Skinner boxes designed to just extract the most money possible from a very tiny percentage of players, you know, the whales, that type of thing. He doesn't totally say that free-to-play games or cash shops across the board suck ass, but he does pretty much lay down this whole idea of they could be fair and how it could be baked into the game design, but most of the time they just aren't. Kind of surprising, although, you know, I wish it would have been this is Richard Garfield, right? Man, Magic the Gathering creator, well known in the gaming universe, but maybe not as well known as some other names I would have liked to have seen come out and say something like this, Q.
Yeah, I actually found a lot of this stuff interesting, and I know some people probably think since the business he was in, right, pretty much relied on kind of the same thing, where you're having to go out and buy packs of cards, and hopefully you get the card you want. I would say the one big difference there is, though, right, that also relies on the kind of the collector mind, and you know you're collecting these cards. Like I had an ex who had a room filled with Magic the Gathering cards because he kept them. All of them. So you're actually getting something physical for your money instead of, you know, just kind of gambling to see if you might get that one thing that you really want in an MMO. But
it's a whole manifesto too. I mean, it's a long piece of writing they put up on Facebook. Jason wrote an article about it. If you want to check it out, the link is in there. It's not a short read though, because Mr. Garfield does go into, hey, I want to be clear. It's okay to buy a game. It's okay to have free games. The publishers should be able to charge whatever they want. If they want to charge $1,000 for it and people will pay, go ahead. Just don't structure to prey on people. And then he does offer a few solutions, some of which we've talked about on this show, Zach, like pay caps, where you can't spend certain amounts of money once you hit a cap or for a certain period of time and things like that. I don't know. How did the entire article feel to you, Zach? I love the overall manifesto. It's something that a lot of free-to-play players have been saying for a long time. I like that it's coming from somebody a little more high profile, but it's also hard, like Q said, to take seriously from a gentleman whose primary monetization was that kind of lockbox mentality just in the physical world.
Exactly, and that's what I got from it. It's like a card game developer, card game person is coming out and stating, okay, lockboxes are bad. Well, isn't that exactly what your business model is?
Well, he wasn't. He said he didn't like the loot boxes and stuff. He was more pointing at the practices used by these games were deliberately preying on the whales. And that was his main. This isn't right mentality.
Card games are kind of the same exact thing, though, and that's
right.
why I agree with you and you, and that's why I couldn't really take it seriously. I agree with him as far as what he said, but I also, it's like, dude, you're kind of a hypocrite here. I mean, when it really comes down to it, like within Paladins, for example, that game has a card game system. Before, it was just a bunch of random cards, and now you can actually purchase the card that you want outright. I like that model. But when I go into a card game and the meta deck is so-and-so amount of cards, and I can't get so-and-so amount of cards without consistently gambling and gambling and gambling, that's what I don't like about card games. And that's why, as much as I do enjoy playing them, I don't last long in them, because I know that there's certain decks out there that are better than mine because I have certain cards that I don't have that I would have to just keep gambling for. That's the problem I see with those games. But at the same account, I don't really see that changing, especially with card games. Right. So don't know.
TOZ on the article, TO_Z, commented on MMOBomb. So he's sad that people migrated from his cash shop to virtual ones? Which, you know, is... Go ahead, Q.
Just thinking about it, based on some of the stuff that Zach was saying, it's actually kind of funny. So, I think it's because...
you're roboting out. What's going on?
I don't know. Am I good? Am I okay?
It's the audio more than anything. It's staticky.
Oh, weird. Well, my microphone has been acting up, so my Yeti...
There we go.
There you go.
But anyway, so based on some of the stuff that he was saying, it is actually kind of funny with I think being kind of, I guess, trained for it, having dealt with physical card games, the whole opening deck packs and stuff like that, say in Hearthstone or any of the games that do it, it doesn't really bother me that much because that's kind of what I expect. The lock boxes and MMOs and the really annoying whole, oh, you just leveled up or you just did this and you totally earned something, but you can't get it till you get a key for it. That annoys the heck out of me.
Yeah, but again, his overall point was the preying on a low percentage of the population that really wants to spend money. And when you sell a trading card game, a physical game, isn't that exactly what you're doing? You're hoping that there will be me and Q and Zach who will all enjoy playing this and that will spend money buying cards and trying to get some better cards and stuff. But you're really hoping that Zach is crazy enough and wealthy enough to really start hunting for particular things and buying in bulk and bulk and bulk to try and get it. Even though Q and I may spend $20 a month, you're really hoping for Zach's, who will spend $2,000 a month trying to find the revised Black Lotus type deal.
So I think, too, the other thing is that, Jason pointed out in this thing, part of what he's saying is that the biggest whales are the people who can't actually afford to spend that money. Yep. That's an entirely different problem to deal with. That's generally like people who can't afford to spend money on $10,000 stereos, but find a way to do it anyway. That's a different issue, and it usually involves depression and stuff like that. And I don't really know how you're going to stop people from just buying things to make themselves feel better, or just because they want to buy things, even if they don't have the money.
I just think of it that if it wasn't so random and it wasn't a gambling thing, that I would be fine with people like that spending that money, because at least they're purchasing something that they know they're getting. Where instead, with this sort of gambling that loot boxes and even card packs have, you don't know what you're going to get until you open it. And so that creates a whole nother dynamic that could cause a massive addiction, other than just sort of depression spending. And with card games, you don't even really necessarily need to have that system in effect with card packs. You just need to balance your game so all those cards matter. Where that way you can just go into a card shop and purchase certain cards that you want. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, the card game would make less money, but that's just because people have been gambling so much to get certain cards. So there's certain ways to monetize that aren't preying on these types of things. I think card games, yes, like what Q said, we do expect that. From card games, because that's just what they've done for years now. Since they came into existence. With MMOs, though, it's even more of like a why are you even doing this? Because it's like you don't have to at all. Like there's no reason other than
there's plenty of ways for them to get my money, like $15 mounts.
Oh yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Now here's the funny thing. I don't think any one of us disagreed with virtually anything he said. We all feel kind of the same way, that yes, these are preying in certain cases, and there are some places that do it well, and yes, there's probably better ways to do this. He proposes a few. We've talked about most of them on this show, so if you want to see what Richard Garfield proposed, go read the article. We're not going to get into that here. We've talked about some of them on previous shows, and it's just, I thought it was, and I have nothing, I don't think any of us has nothing but the utmost respect for Richard Garfield and the phenomenon that he created in Magic the Gathering, which is still rolling strong to this day. I just thought it was kind of weird coming from somebody in that ballpark. So check out the article, the manifesto. It's a great read, particularly if you feel the same way that in free-to-play gaming, there's quite a few people that just have publishers and developers that have abused the piss out of the cash shop. Before we go to our weekly bombs, let's talk Cloud Pirates very quickly. It's an airship combat game, Alad's team, published by My.com here in the West. You may have played it overseas with the Russian version, which was directly had Alids in the title. It does take place in the Alids or Alads, whichever you prefer, online universe, but it's, think of it as Dreadnought with Final Fantasy type airships. To me, overall, I did the first look, posted it. I actually really enjoyed the game. I liked it a lot more than Dreadnought, and I think the sole reason, Zach, was it felt faster. Dreadnought, to me, felt absolutely unbearably slow, and I know that that is a direct result of the scale that they were going for in their ship design. So I don't fault it for that. It just wasn't for me. I actually really enjoyed Cloud Pirates. I was actually pretty damn good at it. In my second match that I used for the first look, I was 3 kills, 4 assists, 1 death. Was feeling good about the customization options. I don't think it does anything extraordinarily new, and we haven't really seen the cash shop at all yet, which is going to be an important indicator going forward, particularly my.com being involved. There's always a little right there sometimes. So with my.com being involved, but as a game itself, if you like World of Tanks, it's got all those same types of menus and stuff, and I kind of enjoyed it. Did you guys get a chance to play it, check out the first look? What were your thoughts on this one, Zach?
I didn't get a chance to try it out, but I did watch the first look, and I thought it was actually a lot better than what I originally thought it was going to look like. And one of the things I've always had an issue with Dreadnought and games like it is how slow they look and also feel. And that's why I haven't really dabbled too much in them, because I'm like, it's really too slow paced, and that's fine if that's what you're looking for. You know, obviously there is a market for a slower game like that, but Cloud Pirates look exactly the speed that I'm looking for in that type of game, and that's why I might actually take a look at it and play it a good bit, because it just seems like it has the right amount of strategy, the right amount of speed, and the right amount of sort of fluidity as far as your movements go. It looks like a game that just feels right, at least for me in my sort of perspective. So I'm gonna check it out.
In the beta, the Family and Friends beta that I recorded the first look, Q, we had 21 ships available, 3 maps available, and 4 different game modes available. Now, I don't know if that's representative. I would assume ship and map-wise that is not representative of the entire final product. But that was a pretty big sampling to go into a very limited closed beta with. And I gotta say, there's 2 words that sum up my entire Cloud Pirates experience. So, Zach, I felt much the same way as you. I saw the trailers and was like, okay, great. 2 words that sum it up: pleasantly surprised. And if I got to make it 3 words, pleasantly fucking surprised. Because, I mean, I really was pleasantly surprised by the game, Q. What about you?
Watching it, I haven't played it yet either, but watching it looked really nice. It looked interesting, but it did feel, oddly enough, really slow to me. It might just be because it's a thing where when I'm watching somebody else play, my brain's doing different things. It kind of like watching somebody else play a shooter, where I'm always sitting there going, "No, why did you go that way?" You know. So it might be that, like, it just feels slower because I'm watching somebody else do it. But especially the like the strategy and stuff on it looked really cool. The having to, like, kind of decide which of your weapons to use and keep track of, obviously the overheating and stuff like that, gives you plenty to worry about. So it looks like something I might be interested in trying out, but it did look very slow to me.
I'm going to be the only one to score this, since I only had my hands on the game, so I think it's not fair to ask you guys for a number at this point. This, by the way, disclaimer, my score on here is going to be based on absolutely no experience with the cash shop in the game yet. So we are talking a score specifically for the game as it was implemented in the first look video. I would normally say 7. I'm going to give it an 8 because to me, it earns that 1 extra point from me personally, Zach, simply because it actually got me to want to play another round of a genre that historically I'm just kind of meh about. And so I'm going to give it that 1 extra point based solely on my own personal bias, that it made me want to play an extra round or 2 of a genre that I normally would play a couple matches and then never play again. So I'm going to give it an 8. Technically, it's probably a 7, but I'll give it an 8. All right, let's slide over to the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
Oh man, you know what? I don't even know. I'm going to give an A-bomb to our air mattress deciding to get a little teeny tiny pinhole in it in the middle of the night while we were asleep.
Oh, God. Yeah, that would suck. That's definitely A-bomb worthy.
That's indicative of our week. So,
Zach!
I'm gonna give an A bomb to games without a motion blur
Oh, I
toggle
saw your
in
tweets,
2016.
man. You were so
Well,
angry in those tweets.
oh my God, Quantum Break! Why? Like even Forza Motorsport, Horizon 3, not Motorsport, but Horizon 3 even has a motion blur toggle. I haven't played it yet, but I researched it heavily because I'm like, okay, these guys at least have to have a motion blur toggle, and they do. But how don't you add that? Like Total Biscuit probably was tearing his hair out too because he hates motion blur. I hate motion blur because it makes me feel sick, especially when the frame rate's not consistent, which it wasn't at 1440p, but it was perfect at 1080p. Why is that? Well, that's because it was a held back port. So Quantum Break, it seemed like it was going to be an interesting storyline. I was really looking forward to playing it, but man, I could not make it past an hour and a half without refunding that damn thing. But luckily it was on Steam, so I was able to do that. So
I saw
Double
your
on the Steam.
tweets. You were not a happy camper. I'm gonna complete the A-bomb trifecta and give it to Terra's civil unrest event that just went catastrophically belly up when it launched. And as far as my research last night showed, still isn't quite where it's supposed to be. They were doing tests on Tuesday, and they and they only did it on one server. So if you're a Terra player and you were looking forward to the civil unrest events, you probably are going to join me on that A-bomb. From the viewers, Afro Lewis says they increased the prices of characters in Evolve by 300%. They didn't warn those who were saving their keys or coins up. They made a stupid mistake by screwing over many players. I decided to try out Evolve again to see if they upgraded the coins per game. I won the match with ease, yet only got 130 keys. A decent character is around 21,000 keys. Overall, as much as I loved Evolve, I've been deterred from playing it anytime soon. Afro, I would say keep your eye on that. Don't abandon it totally. I think Turtle Rock is doing the cash shop part intelligently, and that you will see some fluctuation and ebb and flow and changes in the way they do this. They just started with that cash shop. Give that one a little time. Not saying they made good decisions to start with, but saying I have faith that they will probably be tweaking the hell out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad to see the increase, but at the same time, they kind of gave you the entire game for completely, like, for free and easy, very easy to progress for quite a while. So I can see them wanting to increase it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, if you look at the reviews right now, I think they went from very positive to mixed very quickly.
Yep.
So.
And I'm sure they will learn from that feedback. Go ahead, Zach.
Michelle Sanctuary says NCSoft is getting so much money with the new Luna shop in Ion 5.0.5 patch. Tons of money from selling those Luna coins, which I would suggest to be also available at least one free Luna coin every day, even for non-subscriber players too. Eh?
Ion has just keeps on trucking there, Q. Go ahead.
Gospodin Phantasmo, guys, I want to tell you, I'm always listening to your podcast when I'm painting in Photoshop. It makes me producing concept art way easier and more fun. And thank you guys a lot for that. Keep doing the great work. Wave from Serbia. Cool.
Nice. So I'm glad we could help with the artwork, and shout out to Serbia. Sky Shadow, A-bomb to Paladins. It's a good game, but the hitbox, it's beyond shit. It's like invisible cardboard box. You don't think the enemy missed, you know he missed, and you still get hit. And no, I'm not just an excuse. It's not just an excuse because I'm bad. I get random headshots on enemies. Just fix the damn hitbox. That would totally be an excuse I would use, though.
Well, it's completely
Your game's
correct,
hitbox is broken, and no, it's not. It's because I suck.
Yeah,
But in this case,
correct,
yeah, Sky Shadow is dead on. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah. Tractatron? Yeah, whatever. Tactitron, my bad. I can't read today. Salute to the video. I love these types of discussions that help in many ways besides just trying to know that game to play or not to play or how bad a company effed up.
Nice. Thank you for the kudos there, too.
I was wondering why you pressed enter.
Tickle2399, I'll jump in, Q. Mike, how am I liking 3. How are you liking 3.4 so far? I had school stuff, so I've done nothing but unlock stuff so far. Final Fantasy patch 3.4 is very, very, very well done, and I don't want to spoil anything for you. I'm enjoying it a lot. Go ahead, Q.
Daniel Keys, Zach looks so young and delicious. If I wasn't such a good reptilian, I would definitely eat his face. Okay, so you misunderstood that reptilian thing earlier, Mike. They're not saying he's a reptilian. They're saying they are.
Zach, somebody wants to eat your face.
That's why I literally looked at that as soon as I woke up in the morning. I just laughed my ass off probably for about 5 minutes. So
I don't know what to say. So moving on to the question of the week last week. What game systems are your favorite, or would you change in an MMO? What game system, or what game does a certain system fantastically in your book? Tommy Barrion says, I like crafting. It's relaxing and frustrating at the same time. Check out Shop Heroes on Steam. You own a shop and craft equipment for NPC heroes to buy. It's a rather deep crafting game, which I think should be the next crafting mechanic in an MMORPG. I will have to check that out. I've never even heard of it, Tommy. Thanks for the heads up on it. Either of you familiar with the game?
no.
All right, well, we'll all check it out. Go ahead, Zach.
Sky Shadow says, question of the week. Master X Master, in my opinion, has one of the best guilds in any game. You need to work to have a good guild. You don't have a shit ton of space per player, but you can upgrade it. You can upgrade experience earned in gold. But I hope by the end of the betas, it will have more than just small boosts. But what I wish it can be in a game is to rearrange the stats on the gear you have, add a stat and remove from another, in minus intelligence plus strength, change the stats compliantly from critical strike to evasion.
I think that might have been completely.
Yeah. And have it save in a library, somewhat like Hearthstone packs. You have full control of what you want and how much, but on gear.
All right. Kudos to MXM.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Q.
Emiko Chan 13 says, I love any MMO with events like Guild Wars 2. I hate questing and prefer more reactive style of gameplay. EverQuest Next dying was a harsh pain for me. I think that hurt a lot of people.
Yep.
Yep.
Gesley says, I think crafting is dumbed down because players are impatient these days. Most player limits are getting rare recipes, low drops, etc., and few materials. Back in my days in Lineage 2 for crafting, late game, you needed more than a few materials, and you could even fail crafting. That's true. Where did those days go? We didn't even mention that last week, the days where you could fail a craft.
Yeah, or your entire item just gets destroyed if you fail.
Now that's kind of segued over into gear enchantment being the thing that you can fail and have things destroyed.
Yep. Aaron says, I'm going to just come out and say it. I absolutely hated Guild Wars 2's crafting, like a lot.
All right. Q, Elusive X Treasure here actually wrote an entire dissertation on the website on this week's show, but I picked this specific portion because it was different from things people were already talking about. So apologies to Elusive X Treasure for clipping your comment here, but it was definitely appreciated, all the feedback you gave. Go ahead, Q.
All right, so this portion of it says I have to give this one to Rift, which is Wardrobe. It has outfit slots, so once you save your appearance, equipping gear will not alter it. It has slots for multiple outfits. It has the option to hide any of the armor slots. It has dyes. It has no level, class, or gear type restrictions, except shield and offhand. You can learn an appearance just by having it in your inventory. No equipping required, which means you can sell the item, and if you go it from a vendor, you can sell it right back. I think that was supposed to be got it from a vendor.
I agree. I like Rift's system as well. Question of the week this week, gang. Give us your take on Amazon's game reveals and what you think of each game and what its payment model will be. Put it in the comments below. Of course, don't forget your weekly bombs. Bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad. If you don't put it down there, I don't got anything for the show. So do your job. We did ours. We recorded the show. Do your job. Put that stuff in the comments below. Until next week, Zach, where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me on Twitter at Zach Sharps. I might put out a video this week regarding Paladins. I'm not quite sure, but I might. So,
Q.
In the brown and blue room.
Yes. And also on the Twitters at Quintlin, I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at magicman1, MAGICKMANN1, or of course, come on over to MMOBomb.com. Check out all the great articles, giveaways, editorials, interviews, previews, first look videos, free to play casts, everything else you could ever want. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.